Welcome to Vital Life Church, Purity of Body, Mind and Soul. Today's webinar will be sharing about nature and the deep connection of Dr. Randolph Stone's understanding of the temple of the physical body, the connection of our internal energy flow to nature, and how the body maps the outer reflection and the connection with nature. Vital Life Church does not treat or diagnose or profess a cure of any sort of disease. And we have a poem by Jefferson Campbell starting off our call today. Welcome, welcome to those on the call and any newcomers joining our circle of peace, love, and harmony. Poem by Jefferson Campbell, Nature. Nature. Nature brings new life and joy into our world. Nature. Nature brings us back from the past to our present. Nature. Nature gives us flowers that have the colors of the rainbow. Nature. Nature takes us away from the plastic toxic substances. Nature. Nature gives us air we breathe. Nature. Nature gives us sounds of birds and ocean waves. Nature gives us pleasure and beauty. Nature. Nature is our most precious resource. Nature. So true. I wrote to an email to one of the patients we work with in the UK. And this was, as Jeff had sent me the poem, and I'd written this to the person just before he called to say, hey, look, I have your poem for tomorrow. And so I had written this from giving the depth of understanding of Nature Cure and Dr. Stone's understanding of Nature Cure and the temple of the physical body, the duplication of nature. With everything that we go through, it's a representation of nature. And obviously that example is when we're in the womb as the fetus being woven as a mandala and the energy flow weaving us. Somebody had a rash on their hand and in between their webbing. And so remember the elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. The reason that we've been gifted this physical body, the human form, as we have the fifth element, the ether energy, the ether element, for us to make a decision, right or wrong, discrimination. The webbing, where the rash was showing up in the person's individual analysis that I did, the webbing is the ovals. Remember, the energy expands. As it expands, that's the oval. The oval's the egg. It's the beginning of life. So the webbing is the oval, is the egg. It's the space between the elements is the oval, which is the reason I'm going to show you the mandala again to remind you, from those of you who follow us regularly, and reminding you about the ovals and the mandala as we're being woven in the womb, as that's the beginning, when the sperm and the egg unite, the beginning of nature. So we're teaching Dr. Stone's understanding of the human body and the connection to nature. Dr. Stone was able to bring the mystical understanding and connection to the temple of the human body to nature, innovative and inspirational. We, here at Vital Life, are daily working to bring this teaching to the 20th century with Jeff and Alynn's experience. The love that is put into the formulas that we all receive is spread out to humanity. The depth of knowledge is in the formulations, from the polarity understanding and their years of working, the regenerative cycle of the liver, the bone marrow, the spinal fluid, the nervous system, the endocrine function, as the endocrine function is part of the elements and the ovals that I'm sharing about. Each formula is formulated to balance our 5-point star, our feminine energy, the yin, and our 6-pointed star, the sun. the yang, the male energy. And that's what we're doing every time we do an analysis with you, or you get treatment on the table, the energy balancing on the table. We're balancing that with you each time we take a look at your iris analysis and analyze where the imbalances are and what we need to do with the treatment to help bring you back into balance, connect you one with nature, because that's what creates the healing. That was the understanding of the testimonial that was sent to us from somebody who had fractured their wrist and had to have a plate put in, and they were having trouble with the plate, with the screws, because the bone was crumbling. 8 months on the program and following the Vital Life Energy program, the person taking the formulas and the faith in the formulas, they went back to the doctor to have the screws removed, and the doctors could not believe the healing of the bone. And that was the testimonial that you all received. That shows the regenerative cycle as the bones, the knitting of the bones, is that first union when we connect with nature as we're being woven in the womb as the mandala, when the union of the sperm and the egg unite. It's also the reason the ovals is the space between the elements. It's also the reason we look at the iris, because we're looking at the oval. The oval is the beginning of life, the egg. And that's what we're teaching and connecting you all with nature every time we share, or you send your iris, or we do a treatment on the table, and we're balancing the 5-point star and the 6-point star, and we're feeling the pulse at the back of the cranial bones as we hold the back of the occipital, and we feel the flow of the energy from your sacrum, where you store your vital reserve, the Dharr matter. As the pulse starts to pick up, we feel the warmth and we feel the pulsation as the spine starts to decompress, as we're holding the back of the cranial bones, as the sacrum increases, the pumping of that Dharr matter, of the fluid that's stored, the cerebral spinal fluid that's stored within the sacrum, as that energy picks up and moves up to the top of your head and spirals into your inner ear, the wings of Hermes, the consciousness at the third eye. Above is the consciousness. From below the third eye is the unconsciousness. So we're helping the energy flow from making contact, because we're electrical magnetic, which is why the poem that Jeff was sharing about plastics, and then we can add in, the interference of the electrical magnetic flow with the blue light that we all get exposed to today. By balancing the 6-point and the 5-point star and helping the circulation move and the spine to decompress as you make contact and hold the back of the cranial bones, each vertebrae starts to decompress. The ovals start to move back and forth as the energy spirals back up to the top of the head, spiraling into the inner ear, shooting out to the top of the head and moving back down again. Now, as we make contact, as both hands are on the individual, because we're electrical magnetic, we become a circuit. So energy flows out our right hand into the right side of the person. And then it flows down the right side of the person, back up the left side, and then back up to the left side of where you're making contact, to their left side of their cranial bones, across the shoulders again, and back down again through the right outgoing energy. The hard part of the body, the back of the hand, the tops of the feet, the back part of the spine, is the pusher. It's the male energy. It's that one-pointedness. It's that focus. It's that moving forward. That's the 6-pointed star in the understanding of balancing that within ourselves. As the 6-pointed star, as the energy flows up from the Dharr matter of the sacrum, moving up the spine, everything hard is the masculine, the outgoing, the pusher. To move up to the 6-pointed star at the top, the pituitary gland. The top of the 5-point star, now we go to the softness, everything soft, the front of the body, the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, the sensory nerves in the face, the ears, the nose, the throat. That's the feminine energy. Everything's soft. And so that feminine energy, the soft tissue, the lymph, and the sensory nerves, the parasympathetic nerves, the masculine, the parasympathetic, the sympathetic, and the masculine, the outgoing. See, the energy has to switch back and forth. And we're balancing that when you do a foot bath, or you do a castor pack, or you do a clay bath, or you take your aminos. Now, whether that's a stress formula aminos, or whether that's your regular, morning or afternoon drink, and then evening drink. And again, it's following the cycles of nature. The sun up, the sympathetic nervous system, the outgoing, the masculine, the male energy. We take our first drink in the morning time. We break the fast and we set up the digestive function. We activate the metabolism. We stimulate the adrenaline. We get up, we get going. And then that 3 o'clock time in the afternoon with the circadian rhythms from the pineal gland, where the light absorption internally, externally into the pineal then sends a signal to the adrenals from the pituitary, first from the pineal to the pituitary, from the light absorption from the sun in through the back of the eyes. Then the signal gets sent down to the adrenals when the sun starts to go down, and then the sympathetic switches off and the parasympathetic nervous system switches on, the feminine energy. In nature, everything rejuvenates, everything regenerates. And so in our sleep state is when the body's repairing and rebuilding, and that's when we heal and rebuild. I want to share just a little bit about what I had written today for us to remember that we have a gift being given this physical human form. It is our temple, and it is connected with Mother Nature. As we step one with nature, as we balance, as things go out of balance, as we're talking about the blue light that affects our electrical magnetic flow, those of you that can come and visit and have treatment and then get the energy balancing will help the momentum of your internal energy flow and neutralizing the external interference of the electrical magnetic flow in us individually. When we take our aminos, though, that helps the electrical magnetic flow in us to offset some of the interference from the 5G, from stress that we all go through with environmental poisoning. Everything's in plastic today, so we're dealing with those plastic toxin, forever chemicals now. So every time we take our aminos, we're helping neutralize some of these exposures that are affecting who we are and our connection to Mother Nature. So today, we are awake. We are awake today, living, appreciating this moment that we are on this call together. We are breathing. We can see. We can smell, or we can taste. We can touch. We are alive. Let's be grateful for all that we have in our lives today. Let us apologize for any complaining that we may be sharing or experiencing, because this temple of the physical body, this human form, is a gift, for we are alive. Let us not compare ourselves to anyone else, for we are individuals and we have a specific individual journey. Trust, laugh, and love your journey of life. It's just something I wrote earlier today for you all. So let's remind you about the mandala. I'm just pulling that up to show you again. And the webbing is the reason I was sharing this with you. What the iris analysis does, if you can't come to visit us here, as people are moving around now and get the actual energy balancing, which is what I was doing last weekend, is down at San Diego to give treatment down there and to get the energy balancing and to balance the electrical magnetic flow in each individual that was able to come and have an appointment. But also doing your iris analysis and having your iris read, because again, we're looking at where you are at that time and then using the tools of the program to help balance you and bring you back to your center so you're stronger internally than the resistance of gravity. So remember the webbing, just why I put the body mapping of the feet, which is also the hands, which is the top of the hand. Remember the top is the pusher, the outgoing, which is why Dr. Stone's showing the mapping of the spine in the 2 feet put together. And he's showing you that, you know, the mapping of the body, the head, the big toes. And he's showing you the cervicals, right, where the toes, you know, meet the padding of the feet and how that connects directly to your dorsal, which is 7, you know, cervical 7, and then dorsal 1, thoracic 1, and how he shows the mapping of the body with the feet, and then obviously the heels are the sacrum and the hips. That's what he's showing you the mapping of. Now, the reason I'm sharing this understanding is somebody had a rash on the top of their hand, and it was on the left hand, and I wasn't paying attention which hand it was. I took a look at the eye, and I could see there was inflammation directly in the left ovary. The rash was on the right side, but the inflammation was showing from some viral activity, which the person had had the influenza H5 probably a month before the rash broke out. So in the iris, it showed the inflammation in the left ovary. And remember how it crosses. It goes from the left hip, left ovary, left testicle for you males, and it crosses over to the right shoulder. Now, it's a healing crisis because the individual had had injury, broken the wrist on the right side, and also it had an injury, deep bone infection to the elbow from an injury that they had, and gravel got into the actual bone. So what it was showing, the virus had broken out from the nerves, and it had broken out from the nerves within the sacrum. Well, gosh, I'm helping to understand the energy flow and balancing the electrical magnetic flow as above, so below to above, holding the back of the cranial bones, which is here, crossing right over left, and just holding the back of the cranial bones, and just holding is a powerful treatment. You will feel warmth, and then you'll start to feel a pulsation in your hands. You'll start to feel the pulsation moving all the way out and around the bones, moving and breathing as they do, as the cranial bones, the 8 cranial bones start moving and breathing. As they start to move and breathe from the flow of the spinal fluid, our primary life energy, as they start to move and breathe, as the pumping of the sacrum increases, as you help the fluid to increase and expand, just like I'm explaining about the webbing with this particular person's hand, and giving you the understanding of the webbing because it's showing you the beginning of life, which is what we're talking about with nature from the poem that Jeff sent earlier today to share with you all. So the webbing, just like the webbing between the toes, all right, okay, the webbing is the oval. It's the space between the elements. So the viral activity from the sacrum into the ovary is what caused the bacterial inflammation and heat, because she said it was burning and it was itching. So caused the heat and the burning within the reproductive area, and then obviously getting reabsorbed through the portal veins back into the liver. Now, as we know, our intelligent liver, our incredible liver, our most rejuvenating organ, our computer of our body, our liver, it doesn't keep it there. It doesn't want it to overheat the blood and go to the brain. So it pushes it on, either sends it into the lymph or dumps it straight back into your intestine via the bile ducts in the gallbladder. In this situation, because of an old injury to the elbow and a fractured wrist, is the reason that all of a sudden the heat came out the tops of the hands connected to the sacrum as the pusher from the lower back, because the top of the body, the hard tissue area, is the spine. And just as like Dr. Stone showing with that chart as I'm sharing with you all here, where you see my mouse rotating, and the top of the foot, the top of the hands, just like the back of the spine, is the hard part of the body, is the masculine energy. The right side, the outgoing energy, even though it was showing viral load down in the ovary. But the burning from the virus and the inflammation from the virus was showing up down in the reproductive area, getting reabsorbed back into the liver, and then coming out where the circulation was already weakened from past traumas. But as we take amino acids, as we get the nutrients, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and the essential fatty acids. Remember, that's what the spinal fluid's made up of. So we're actually producing our natural T cells, our helper T cells, our NK killer cells, our B lymphocytes, so that our body can then take care of the influenza virus that you'd had a month earlier, but also take care of past deep bone infection in the elbow and the fractured wrist from the past, as well as take care of the viral burning in the womb area from particularly the ovary, and create a healing crisis. So obviously from that, then we suggest certain treatments to balance her, even though it's the left ovary, okay, it's coming from the sacral area where the virus is laying dormant, which we all carry internally. So balancing the six-pointed star, even though it was showing up in the left ovary, the soft tissue area, the feminine energy, and it's an egg, which is the beginning of life, which is us talking about nature and the nature cure right now from the poem that was shared. So the webbing is the space, it's the ovals between the elements. Earth, water, fire, air, and the big toe is the fifth element, ether, the reason that we're gifted with this human form. Going to the mandala on the left side of the screen, as we're being woven in the womb as the fetus, the egg, the beginning of life when the sperm penetrates it, the pulsation of the union of the sperm and the egg from the zygote as it implants into the lining of the womb, into an embryo, and then into a fetus. And of course, as you see, the ancient geometry of the triangles weaving us as a mandala, and the space between each triangle. That's the reason it's showing you the triangle, and the space between each triangle is the oval. Of course, it shows you that it crosses. See why we look at the eye? And we look at the eye to show the same energy flow as what Dr. Stone is sharing and teaching us all about, how incredible the body is and how it maps, and we're so connected to the stars, right? The moon, the sun. You know, Mother Nature is a duplication of who we are, and we need to protect her. Protect her in our own ways by taking care of our own environments, the air that we breathe, the love that we put out, and the peace that we share with each other in our calls on Sundays and Mondays, wherever you are in different parts of the world. Now let's join and link arms together as we do. And this is for us to get relaxation, right? And this is also to help balance. When you do the deep breathing and you focus on getting the breath past the elastic band of the diaphragm down into the pelvic area, you're balancing, and then you relax your jaw on the exhalation and you shake away all the stress and the tension. You're balancing the elements. You are balancing all the elements when you're doing that. So let's close our eyes together. Let's bring peace to the world. Let's bring love to the world in our circle. Let's bring joy and harmony and love. Now, in your own timing together, let's take that deep breath in with your eyes closed. Feel each rib expand. Bring the air down to your lower abdomen, down into the pelvic area. Stretch out that diaphragm. And then on your exhalation, remember to relax the jaw and the shoulders and shake away any tension. In your own time again, take that deep breath in through your nose. Expand the diaphragm. Feel each rib expand. Bring the air past the diaphragm, balancing the water and earth below. And in your own timing, release. Exhale out, relaxing the shoulders and the jaw. And shake away any tension, balancing the fire and air above the elastic band of our diaphragm. One more time as we share peace in our circle and harmony in our circle and love in our circle together throughout the universe. Do it in your own timing. Take that deep breath in. Remember, balancing the elements, and in between the elements is the oval, the beginning of life. And then exhale out in your own timing. Relax the shoulders and the jaw and shake away any tension. Thank you everyone for joining our calls, and have a great week. Remember, we're all traveling a unique individual journey of life. God bless everybody.